Hello students, right now we are going to discuss thoroughly the leading role of the World Trade Organizations, and in short form it is known as WTO. So these World Trade Organizations, it is the international organizations which is dealing with the global rules of trade between the different countries and different nations. So here the World Trade Organizations who is encouraging all countries to come together to have foreign trade and foreign investment. Their objective is to encouraging all countries to liberal their policies on foreign trade and foreign investment. So students, as we see that according to this WTO, there should not be trade barriers between different countries. So why there should not be trade barriers? If there is trade barrier, then the foreign investment and foreign trade will not be succeed in the society. The foreign trade and foreign investment will not flow properly in the society if we have the foreign trade barriers in the society. So in order to have the proper flowing of this foreign trade and foreign investment, the WTO, the World Trade Organizations, encouraging all countries to remove the trade barrier and to have the liberal policies for the mutual benefits, for the mutual development economically in the nations. So students, as we see that according to this WTO, all countries in the world should have the liberalized policy. That means there should not be restrictions on foreign trade. All countries, if they want to develop economically, they should have the liberal policy on foreign trade and foreign investment. So here, this WTO, it was started at the initiative of the developed countries. So the developed country, they started the World Trade Organizations, and they started with a objective. And what is that objective? It is to liberalize the international trade. That means they started to have the international trade between different countries in the world. And that is the reasons the WTO World Organizations was started to have the liberal policy, to encourage the countries to come together for having foreign trade and foreign investments. It always suggests all developing countries to have the liberalized policy so that there should not be restrictions, there should not be barrier for the proper flowing of this foreign investment and foreign trade. And that is the main motto of the WTO, because they encourage all countries to have very liberalized policy on foreign trade and foreign investment. So at presently, there are 160 countries of the world which are part of this WTO on June 2014. So on June 2014, nearly 160 countries which are part of these WTO organizations, they are part of these World Trade Organizations. So here, always the WTO, the World Trade Organizations, they forcefully forced all countries to remove the trade barrier. If trade barrier is not removed, they cannot do the foreign trade and foreign investment. That is why they always forced all developed countries and developing countries to remove the foreign trade barrier so that there will be free flowing of foreign trade and foreign investment. So here we have a great examples of these trade in the agricultural products in USA. So dear students, the agriculturalists in USA, they are heavily subsidized by the government, and due to that they can export their products like wheat and cotton at very low prices to the developing country. And because of doing such kind of practices, it is affecting the farmers in that country. So here the question mark is it a free trade or free trade policy? So dear students, as we have understood the leading role of World Trade Organizations, the World Trade Organizations, which is encouraging all countries to come together to have the foreign trade and foreign investments for the mutual benefits economically, for the development of all countries. So when foreign trade will come, when foreign investment will come, all countries will develop mutually, economically, employment generations will be there, society will develop in many ways. So when we have foreign trade and foreign investment, it is creating more opportunities in the society, developing the society, developing the nations economically, developing the nations in every aspects of life. That is why the WTO, which is encouraging all countries to have foreign trade and foreign investment, so that development will take place in their certain countries. Thank you so much for listening to me.